Good afternoon, Jacob.
Hey, good afternoon, Bob.
Or should I call you, what's your name?
Jacob Hawley.
Oh, your film name.
Oh, Angevine.
Angevine Reynolds.
Correct.
You're a newspaper editor.
Correct. I was the first editor for the Gazette, Mariposa, as my acting role.
Okay. So, the story is that you and I are playing parts in this movie that Scott is putting together. Scott, my question is, what's your interest in history? Because I know it goes beyond just learning your lines.
Well, I actually enjoyed Mariposa history a lot. I grew up here, and I walked around this town, and we got to play around these areas, and I can always put myself back in the old era, wondering what it was like in the 1850s and all the way through. I also used to walk around Yosemite and think of myself as being maybe a native boy and how it would be without new age technology and just being able to grow up here without having all these modern things. And I think it's also important to keep our history as part of our community. Our history here, a lot of it's lost.
We're standing in front of the old jail.
Yeah, this is the old jail. This old jail was built in 1858. It was finally finished. This jail has a lot of history. It used to be a flat roof jail, and at one point, a guy by the name of Thomas Tuitt was in jail, and they think that they had tried to do a prison break. And Thomas Tuitt, unfortunately, lost his life in the fire. And so what they did is they redid the jail after Thomas Tuitt died in it, and they took some of the blocks away and took them down to the fairgrounds and made it into an A-frame and took away from the gallows in the back as well.
Okay. And why should we invest in preserving our old things?
Well, we get the knowledge from our elders and stuff like that. We also get a little bit in the history books, but a lot of it's passed down through our older generation going down to our younger generation. And we're starting to find out that, a lot of that's not getting passed down, and there's certain people that really need to keep it going for our children know what happens with the history of our town. It also keeps our culture going for a town like this, which we all enjoy so much, and knowing what these buildings are and the importance of them.
It also has an economic benefit from the standpoint of tourism, right?
Correct. I mean, people are normally coming through Mariposa, they're definitely trying to get to Yosemite, but when they see this town, they'll stop in at the visitor center, and we'll let them know, we have one of the most historical towns in the world. It definitely wasn't the oldest. Europe was definitely a lot older, but this is definitely the gold rush town. This is one of the first seats of California, and the oldest jail. Our courthouse is still the oldest working courthouse west of Mississippi. Our Catholic Church has been here since 1850s. So this is our history. This is California history, and this is the true aspect of it. And if you walk this town, we've preserved these old buildings, we've preserved our whole downtown to make sure that we are always going to have this in our history and be able to pass that down to generations to come further in our future.
So, playing Angevine Reynolds, what has that taught you about our history? Did you know about Angevine?
So I didn't know about Angevine Reynolds until I had talked to Scott Eastwood about it, and we went through some of the old articles and went through some of the scripting which there was in the past, and this story was a big story, and it went all through the Central Valley. It ran through 4 different newspapers, and they wanted to make it a secret, which is kind of neat that that my role was part of the Gazette is we could actually throw this story out there, for we know this didn't get just swept underneath the rug back in the 1850s era, between the 1850s and 1900s. Some of these stories, a lot of these ranchers around here, a lot of the gold miners, there was a lot of murders and stuff like that, and we don't know about half of them, because they were swept underneath the rug. And this one was a very exceptional story. A lot of people were involved in it, and it was probably one of the most serial killer massacres that ever happened in Mariposa County, and it's just not known about. And I thought it was a very interesting story, and it being really a true story was really what interested me more in it. And then Scott looked at me and asked me if I would do Anna Divine Reynolds' role in it, and I guess I looked kind of like Anna Divine Reynolds because he had the beard and the longer hair, and he was a citizen in this town that just loved working with the paper and putting the story down on paper. He was a very community advocated guy.
Your advice to young people with respect to this movie is a unique opportunity to get involved, learn something about the movie business, and learn a lot about our history. Do you have any suggestions for people?
I just think, take the opportunities you can, especially in a movie, especially if you can get the opportunity to voice your opinion on the history of it, but also be involved in it. I know we have a couple younger kid roles that are in the movie that we're still searching on some of the actors to fill, but also please pay attention to your history and keep it going where you can pass it down to your children and be part of your community and be active in your community.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day, Bob.
Bye-bye, Jacob.